Passion!
Lots of things have changed. One thing has remained.
Just have a look around, will you?
Of the people of
Just have a look what we created.
Round of applause.
Hello, welcome to the Passion Podcast. It's 30 years of passionate clubbing with me, JFK, and I'm here today with...
GENIX, great to be here. Good to see you again.
Andrew, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah,
You okay?
Very well, very well. Looking forward to
It's been a while.
to the birthday event. Yeah.
Well, I remember you used to work in this studio with me many years ago, so you've not been in here for...
Between 15 and 20 years, maybe. Yeah, it's a long time ago. But yeah, I used to come in here and do some promotion work and production work a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Remember you used to have your kettle in the corner.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Was it a white one?
It was a tiny little travel one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're here today to talk about some of the history of Passion's 30 years that we're currently been experiencing over the past 30 years, funnily enough. And we are going to talk about some of the old things, and we've got some questions for each other because obviously our journeys have crossed paths many years ago, and they've gone in pretty much separate ways. But we still keep in touch, and and you're playing for us on the Passion's 30th birthday on March 15th.
Absolutely, yeah. It's loads of amazing memories at Passion, place where I started as a clubber. Started my career there, if you like, and we were just discussing off the camera that I think it was 2003-ish when you allowed me finally to play at Passion, because I was probably, I remember asking you, I used to hang off the front of the DJ booth and give out my mixed CDs and just shout everything, because I really wanted to play at Passion. So all these years later, we sat here talking about the 30th birthday, and there's been so many amazing...
Crazy. I do remember you actually went back in the days, and you were like one of the new generation. I think we called it the next generation at the time. There were some next generation nights. Do you remember? Do you remember those? And you were like one of those that we'd identified that had something about you that was going to be moving on, and you were working on some production, but I don't think you'd quite actually got anything out at that point.
No. So my first song what I made was around 2003. Well, I made loads of them, but they're all rubbish. But my first one that actually got signed.
What was it called?
Solar Planet.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was digging around and I found this little CD. Look here, there we go. And that's what I got given back in 2003, and I sprang this on demo a few minutes ago, and you were like, "Oh my God, where did I get that from?"
Yeah, this is actually amazing. Like, all rights reserved. Like I said, it's like it was a big tune or something. But I used to hang off the front of DJ booths and give these to whoever was playing at Passion. And I used to go to gate crashes sometimes and just try and get myself known. But yeah,
well, that's the way it did it. That's the way everybody did it back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was no social media. This was like hustling, if you like.
Have you still got that tune?
I've got it somewhere in an archive with loads of my other rubbish stuff. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, amazing. So
then you obviously started off doing those tunes, got some sign, and then we moved on a bit further with you, didn't we? A few later on. There was a point where I'd had some various issues with the current owners at the time of the Emporium, and we went off to Hinckley and we started Live and Loud, and we started over in what was it? Elements.
It was called Elements. So Hinckley is actually my local town, and been there my whole life pretty much, and Passion was my favourite clubbing event, and then there was a slight rebrand to Live and Loud, and you came and threw loads of parties, and then
I wanted to make sure we had somebody local who knew the scene, who could bring people in and whatever, and you worked in the local record shop over there, didn't you?
I worked in the local record shop at the time, and again hustling again. I met your friend Russ, who I believe was your driver.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So I was like, I really want to get involved, I want to start DJing, and then we sort of hooked up, and I remember from there I used to not be the flyer boy, but kind of. I used to go out sticking posters on lampposts all across the Midlands, just driving out and getting soaked on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, we used to go and do it together. Lamppost boarding, didn't we? We used to go, not that we ever did anything illegal at the time, honestly, but we used to go and stick them up, didn't we? Well, so we put them up round. We used to make you run round the M1 roundabout. Dave-O, come on, there's a lorry coming.
You used to sell me because you used to say I was fast at it.
Yeah, much faster than I it was. So, and we had some good parties. So we did Friday nights once a month down there. We had some quite big names down there.
Rank 1, Eddie Halliwell, Guy Onadell, who went on to be my manager, and a Passion legend, of course.
Judge Jules.
Jules, he played there,
Yeah, so we had some good parties before we eventually got enticed back to the Emporium again. And then you became... took you over with me. We had such a success at Live and Loud, and we went over and we started. You came and got a residency at Passion then with me as well.
I mean, that was always my dream to DJ at Passion. Like throughout my whole career, I've had sort of goals and things I wanted to tick off, achieve. Like playing at Passion was one. Hearing my tune at Passion, that demo there. I heard that at Passion once, and I went crazy. And then being the Passion resident was like. Some major thing that I'm proud of in my career, because it was a major clubbing institution. People flocked from all over the country, and it was a really special and magical event. And to be a part of that as a resident DJ and meet so many people, it was really a big moment in my life, actually.
Well, it was good. And I think one of the other tracks that really got you noticed though was the Coming On Strong remix. I know it never got released, did it?
Yeah,
no.
it was.
I used to cane it all the time, and I actually found that the other day. Look as well. Look with a little smiley face on it. Damo's remix of Coming On Strong. Coming Back Strong. Sorry.
Now all we need is a CD player, right?
Yeah, we've got some behind the screen, but we won't play them. Or we'll go to this commercial break.
So we're now at 30 years of Passion. I'd like to ask you a few questions about how it all began. So,
okay,
what was? Let's talk about you as a DJ. So you started DJing before Passion, right?
Yeah, I've been DJing since I was about 15. So that's a long time. Okay, I'm in my mid-50s now, so it's actually going to be about my 40th year of actual DJing this year, which is crazy, I know. And I started out as a youth club in Quorn at Rawlins, just playing music for that. And then somebody started up this, a friend of mine said that he runs his Sound City Disco, Johnny Knighton. Do you remember Johnny Disco? He used to go and play at the Engine next door. He started this Sound City Disco, and he said, would you like to just come and be my roadie? So I was like, yeah, okay. So I used to go with him and help him set the kit up and DJ when he went to the toilet and whatever, and he showed me how to use the decks, and it was all a built-in sort of like controllers are now, but with vinyl built in. So it was, you press an auto cue button and you put the needle on the record and it went back to the start and you press start. Wow. No mixing. It was just like 2 channels, no pitch or anything like that. And then I used to be able to find his records. So I was like his music finder. So like he would go, pass me Yaz, The Only Way Is Up. Oh, it's probably actually even before that, or some 60s, and I was like, come find it for him. I go, there you go, Johnny. So that was a mobile disco experience, and then I felt I got enough confidence there. And then at the age of 20, I went to Faliraki in Rhodes, and went over there and started DJing in a nightclub. And I remember walking in, and this guy Stratos, who was the club owner, said to me, "So when was the last time you played in a nightclub?" I went, "Oh, Saturday." And he went, "Okay, you start tonight." And I went, "Okay." So I walked in, and there was a pair of Technics decks behind there, and I hadn't got a clue how to turn them on. I know, like you spin the dial on the thing. Didn't have a clue. Absolutely no clue whatsoever. And fortunately, this guy called Vambo, who was like a bit of a mentor to me, he came and showed me how to do it. He went, "You've not DJed in a club before, have you, lad?" I went, "No, it's right. Do the lights, I'll show you what to do, and I'll teach you how to use the microphone." And that was it. So I spent 8 months for that season, learning bits and pieces, just watching and learning, pretty much like you were back in the day, hanging over the DJ booth, watching everything. And I was pretty much doing that, but being paid about £8 a night, and all I can drink. So that was a problem. Yeah, I know, but that was the start of the rocky ruin. That one. So I did 5 years out there, and by the time I finished those 5 years, I was one of the head DJs in the resort, and I had 2 or 3 DJs doing my warm up. So it was in that short space of time, but it was a real sort of when you're doing 7 days a week, 8 months a year, it's like doing 7 or 8 years over here, because it's just so intense all the time. So I came back, and they were looking for a DJ at a place called Crystals in Colville. When I came back, and somebody says, "Oh, do you want to go and try out for the job there?" And it was a commercial club. So Crystals in Colville, which is now the Emporium, was a commercial venue. Wasn't doing great. They were open Friday and Saturday, and it was a very much sort of like.
So was there like a light bulb moment when you thought, I want to bring
Be a dance-
electronic music and dance
Yeah,
music.
well, that
into
was
it.
that. I always like when I was out in Faliraki. I learned how to mix out there to a point, and but then I was always wanting to play the dance music. So when I went to Colville to Crystals, I was their dance music specialist, but I used to go to Venus in Nottingham, which was like the very, very famous Venus. So I see Pete Tong in there, Jeremy Healy, and all the real big guys over there, and obviously fell in love with the dance scene. That was my bit. Then I'd come back to Crystals and do this little bit of a dance section in that place there, and the dance music revolution was just taking off all over the East Midlands at that point. And I remember speaking to Mark and Eric, who own the club, and I said, look, you've got to get involved in the dance music side of stuff. And to their credit, they listened to me and to other people that were telling them the same sort of thing, that people were going to clubs and making them into dance clubs. And they decided that they were going to try and do a one-off night with Todd Terry in there. And they got a promoter called Chris Hall from London to come up. And this was still called the Crystals at the time. And this guy from Chris Hall came up, booked some DJs, and they came up with this night, brand new night called Passion that we're going to start, which was a weekly night on a Saturday. It was a massive change. You think of a risk of they've got their own regular crowd that came in from Colville to start this dance music night in 1995. Where they hadn't really had a background in themselves in the dance music, although the people around them, like me and Chris Hall and whatever, really wanted it. And I remember when Chris Hall phoned me up and told me that I'd got the residency at this new dance night, because I'd obviously been more of a commercial type DJ before that. I was dancing around my room on the phone, hanging off the wall, because there were no mobile phones. And I was like, yes, yeah, I've got the residency at this place. And then they went, what's the night called? I said, Passion. I went, oh, what a shit name that is. I really didn't think that Passion was a very good name for a club night back in the day. I'm like, no, it's too cheesy, that is.
It's so legendary name as well.
I know.
Like just people like familiar with it.
So that was pretty much how it came about, and obviously I wasn't JFK at that time. I was Jason Kinch, and you see the very early flyers. It's got my name, Jason Kinch, on there, and I literally did the very first hour of the place, and that was my job for the night. I got paid, and then I'd hang around and look after the DJs and make sure that they were all right. And I just wanted to hang out with them. I just wanted to be part of the dance music, and it was a sort of like all of our friends. Of friends and friends and friends, and the scene just grew, and that's really how Passion became bigger at the time. It was just all people that we knew and were involved with. And then I did the same. Used to go and put flyers in the shops, go and put posters up in shops, and be involved in that sort of thing. And you spread the name, and that's how it got a little bit bigger. But for the first 6 months, it didn't really take off. It was really, really difficult.
So you said Todd Terry was the first.
Yes, he played. I think he played the Friday before Passion opened.
Okay.
There was a night with Todd Terry on.
So, saying that, Todd Terry is obviously not a trance artist.
No.
So it began as like more house, like Chicago house, like acid house kind of.
Yeah, well, there was no trance back in 1995. It was all house music. I mean, my first love of house music came in probably around about 1987, 1988, when all the Chicago house sound came in. Jack Your Body, and
still all great, that stuff. I still listen to it.
Fantastic Chicago house sound. I loved it. I've still got some of the LPs from the very first ones that I bought. All those imports, which I know that later on, years later, we found out that Pete Tong was involved in bringing them all over to the UK and helping get them all big. But that was my thing. It was house music. So even the first 2 or 3 years at Passion was definitely just classic house. I mean, the first record is a legendary that we played at Passion was Where Love Lives by Alice and Limerick. So that it was that sort of style, and I was very sort of vocally.
I remember you playing that record a lot. Like do you know the One More? You used to drop that in occasionally.
Yeah,
as well,
because it was that was a big tune for everybody involved. So yes, it was definitely more on the house music side to start off with, and it wasn't until really Out of the Blue came along by Ferry Corsa or System F at the time that really things started to change, and it started to.
So musically, it changed to more trance around the release.
And I think
because he was resident at Passion, right?
Yes, yeah. A couple of years later, around about 1999, him, Armin, and Guy Onadell actually became monthly residents later on.
I remember seeing something about Armin was saying that he had a huge UK. He used to come to the UK all the time because people didn't like his music in everywhere else. They had
Right.
a massive following in the UK, and Passion was. I remember going to see him numerous times.
Yeah, I think
as a resident there over the years.
Yeah, I think we were one of the very first clubs to ever book him.
Yeah,
and I remember going to to go into Mark and Eric, who were the owners at the time, and I'd go, right, okay, we've got to get this latest DJ, got to get this whatever. And I go, no, another one you're coming up with. And I went, yeah, we've got to go. This guy called Ferry Corsten, and he went, Ferry who? Ferry across the Mersey? Oh, I've never heard of him. I said, look, he's just done this massive track, and it's got to be, and it'll be huge. And we flew Ferry over, and I remember we had to fly him over from Holland, and he was what you would call considerably cheaper than he is now. But it was we flew him over, but pick him up, put him in a hotel, which was all new as well, because we'd all been booking mainly UK artists before that. And because of the strength of the Out of the Blue, people bought banners on the very first night. We love you, Ferry, and all sorts of stuff like that. And that was down to the Passion people. You couldn't replicate that these days. It was just natural. It was very, very natural. And Ferry was blown away by it as well. I don't think he'd seen a reaction like that. And then when they said, "Oh yeah, okay, you can book Ferry a little bit more, but you've got to have this unknown artist called Armin van Buuren as well." At the same time, we were like, "Okay, well, who's Armin van?" So I had to sell that to Mark and Eric as well. They were like, "All right, okay." So we had so it was them pair, and then they just. I mean, Armin was he was. I think he was still. Was he studying law?
I'm not
He was
sure.
studying.
I remember he had his track Blue
Was it
Fair,
university?
which was
That's
actually
right, yeah.
charted here in the UK.
Yeah. And he was, I remember him still being a student when he came over, and he wasn't too sure at that point whether he was actually still going to continue in the music career and where he's gone today.
I think they ended up filming the System FX Ale video.
That's
Passion,
right. Yeah, which was another bizarre moment.
It was like a journey of a DJ. They're going through the airport, getting on the plane, and they get to the They get to the club, and they're where is Colville anyway? Like they were just going. There was videos of them walking through fields with their record boxes and stuff. I think
That's it. Yeah,
and then they end up in the Emporium. It was just like hundreds and thousands of people there, just going crazy to this song.
I know it's all in the video, which we probably should play you right now.
Okay, so how did you move from being just a Passion resident to the promoter of this new event, Passion?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, as you grow as a resident, you just learn more as you carry on. But I was just partying with everybody else all the time, to be perfectly honest with you. And I got to the point where, but I did get to the point where I wanted, and I went back to college, and I actually studied at 30 about hospitality and catering course, believe it or not. And the owners at the time realised that I was serious about making sure that I stayed in the industry. And they had a promoter, Chris Hall. He eventually left, and there was another guy called Ferry Kiamanash who came in, and he was working in-house for Mark and Eric. And they decided that they were going to part company with him as well. And I asked for the opportunity, and I wrote a little draft about what I could bring to the brand and this, that, the other. And I was hoping that they took it. I was good enough to do it because they gave me the opportunity to do that. And I went in and worked with them because I felt that the branding in the very early stuff was. I don't know whether you saw it. Some of the fish and the.
I've seen some really old flyers in the past. Yeah.
So like snow scenes for winter. And,
Christmas card log.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. It was exactly that. And so I felt that the branding, could have been developed a little bit more. So I worked with some of the guys, actually, the designers at Ministry of Sound, actually. And I went down to London and met with these guys, and they came up with two designs that we were looking for.
For the logo, you mean?
For the logo, yeah. Because we wanted to rebrand it. Oh no, that's all right. We did a competition with somebody at Loughborough College to start with, and they came up with the two crescents. But it was the original two crescents, not like the one that it came later on, which was two tighter circle ones. They were more arced.
Okay.
So we'd put that on the flyers, and we started working on that before we'd actually got the PaSSionate logo. That's right. Sorry, I'm going back a little bit. And it was Clarissa. She lives in my village now. She lives in the village, and I see it at the pub, and she helped design it. She won the competition to do that. People went out and got tattoos of the logo and everything.
I've seen
we
loads
changed it a few years later.
Don't tell them.
So sorry if you're watching and you've got the old PaSSionate logo on your tattoo. So that's how we sort of tried to develop the branding a little bit more, give it more of its own identity, bring it into the modern. That was around about 1998, so it was about three years in, and then we went to London, and then we got the PaSSionate logo designed up, and I think that's really where it gave it that identity that it's got now. And we had the tightened up of the other logo as well. But to the credit, Mark and Eric, when they were there, they were absolutely fantastic because they would drive the club where it needed to be. They had the business sense. I had all the energy of a young man who hadn't got a clue, right? And I knew how I wanted to go, but they'd help steer it in the right direction. And they ran with everything we said. Obviously, that to hold me back on some of the things, but they were fantastic at making sure that the club looked great. They were kept extending it. I mean, it wasn't as big as it has been in years just recently, and they covered over the car park, which is now the green room, and that was a car park, and they were builders, so they built the stuff themselves. They extended it. They made sure that the drapes looked good. The toilets were always up to standard and everything else, and they really helped get up to which is almost capacity, which officially
it's one
was...
thing I always remember, the famous walk up the ramp into the blue room. You'd get in there, and I mean, you'd be excited about that moment every time you was heading to a PaSSionate night. You'd walk in, there's an explosion of people who have flocked from across the UK,
just dancing around you, absolutely everywhere on every level.
This is a doors opening. People just going in there straight away, and I mean, we'll talk about the atmosphere of PaSSionate events in a bit, but I think that's, like you were talking about, the aesthetics of the venue and the club and the people, and all these things work together. And one of my most famous memories is just walking in and seeing how nice, like you say, the drapes were, the DJ booth right in the middle. Yeah,
'cause it was like everybody calls it a boiler room now.
Yeah,
but it was an original boiler room because it was right there in the middle, and you could walk behind it. There was a glass screen that you could walk behind it. I don't know, that was people like Nigel Benn grabbing people by the throat. That's another story. But it was. I
remember peeking through and seeing, looking at all the DJs, because they used to put the
records,
vinyls, and they were literally pulling all these white labels out. And I would just be stood there like
trying to get a glimpse of it. Yeah.
Like, what's this? What's this? What's this?
Well, that was it. There was dancing around everywhere, and that was the whole point. Is that you could dance in the whole cauldron almost. That's what made the atmosphere.
I remember, sorry to touch on that.
Yeah,
Guy on a Dow had a motorcycle as the Rush Comes.
Oh,
pulled it out on a white label, and obviously had a lot to do with that record. And I remember that was the first time I saw it, and then he played it, and I heard it, and what a tune that went on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, back in those times when you're talking about late 88, 98, 99. And I've seen some of the footage just recently of what it was like. It was like we say, there's no mobile phones. It was dark. There was just a strobe because we had no production. It was no lighting. That was it. It was just a flashing lights. But to be that DJ in that moment, creating those atmosphere with those people, at that time just going absolutely crazy, sends shivers up the back of my neck just now, just thinking about it, because it was just an amazing time to be alive, let alone anything else. And we just came in every single week. I'd do the warm up, and you know, people would walk in, like, you'd have a really bad day, right? You'd be stressed. One of the wires in the decks weren't working properly, or something, and we were panicking. The moment the clubbers walked in that door, you're just like, changed absolutely everything.
Switch off for a while.
Yeah, because we gave them a platform to come in, and you know, there's obviously some famous lines about me saying, leave all your problems at the door and come here and party. But that's exactly what they did. They walked in. They had a lot of the people there were very similar to us. They were working class people. They perhaps had mundane jobs, and you know, and they came in and they just wanted to go, forget about all of that, because these 6, 7, 8, 9 hours or whatever they were there for, they just wanted to go crazy. And that's they called themselves the dedicated followers of Passion. We never gave them that nickname, although it became a bit of a thing years later. But they were just mental, weren't they?
Yeah, like the people of Passion. I mean, I've gone on to DJ all around the world and stuff, and you know, honestly, there's never been an atmosphere like Passion on its day. Nothing like it. Like the energy in that,
just intense
in that event. Yeah, it's
really. I think
special.
we made some. There was some luck with that as well, because we were this.
It was a destination venue, so people had to travel to get there.
That's it.
Like people had travel from, you know, where people bought tickets from, like all corners of the UK, Europe maybe.
Yeah.
They get excited about travelling.
But in the early days, we couldn't book anyone.
Yeah.
We were like almost like Wimbledon playing in the Premier League. We were like, all got like, you know, all the other clubs are super glitzy. They had all the big name DJs, and we couldn't get anyone. They wouldn't come to Colville, so we'd go, okay, we'll give them what the money they're asking, but they can do 6 till 7 at night, or 8 till 9 or whatever. When we got them to an early set, and they were like, okay, what's the catch? Nothing. Just come early, and we'd advertise the set times, just so we can get the DJs on the lineup, so we get the people in. Now that meant that people knew what time these DJs were playing.
And getting there early. Yeah.
Getting there early, right? So we had a full club by 9 o'clock. These DJs couldn't believe it. There were queues down the road. There'd be, I mean, recently there's been a podcast with Paul was going, we don't know how they did it week in, week out. You're driving through this ghost town, and there would be...
I've seen those queues. They were crazy. Yeah,
absolutely mental. So we'd have all the big name DJs on, and then by that time the club was going off, and then we'd just take, you know, it was a gift. It was like being a striker with up front, you know, you just play the tunes at the end, and everybody had a really great time. So that's how we managed to get the DJs in the early days, because we couldn't get anybody.
Interesting. So what would you say your biggest tunes are of Passion? Have you got any particular? Like, 'cause I always remember, I mean, I don't like that West Bam tune that you always used to play. I know it's a Passion classic. I remember you always used to laugh at me for that.
Well, no, because I didn't like it to start with either.
Right, okay.
But it became one of, I thought it was a bit cheesy to start with. But
no, it's a big track.
It just
it's
became one of those ones. You know when you play some tunes sometimes, and everybody goes crazy for it, and you're thinking, oh, okay, well, I'll play it, and then you play it again, and everybody goes crazy for it, and you think, well, I've got to play it, because you know it works, but you don't necessarily connect with it.
Yeah.
That was one of them. I mean, obviously, I've probably made a living off the last 20 years playing the same records over and over again. Anyway, I'm sorry about that, but you happen to like them, people of Passionland, so like, we're just going to keep playing them. But you know, there's far too many. I mean, you've seen my record collection here. I've got about 30,000 still. So
there's a lot.
Yeah. So it's but I can't say there was. I mean, obviously the seminal one is Alice in Limerick Where Love Lives, because that was the very first record that I played down there. But you know, I think Out of the Blue by System F was a tipping point of, right, we're moving from the 90s into the 2000s, and that to me was the very, very first seminal dance track. And I spoke to Ferry about this when we were backstage one night, and I was like, okay, well, so what was your thoughts behind it when you made it? And he went, it's a typical chorus and verse song. Each part is a chorus into a verse, and it says, and that's how it plays out, and that's how we wrote it. And that to me is why it sings without saying a word. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that to me was the one where I think that really took us to the 20th or the 21st century. But you know, how many times that we've saying we've got this biggest DJ in the world and that biggest DJ in the world, and it just absolute crazy nights. I mean, you were involved in the Tiesto night that we had.
Yeah. You posted a picture on social media recently of that, and I played the opening set Tiesto, and we were talking about the club just being rammed. I think it was 8 o'clock, and I was DJing, and I nicked my second track in or something, and you tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Is it busy enough for you?" And I looked up like this, and it's wall to wall, like packed. And I didn't even realise it. They filled up that fast.
That was one of the busiest nights we'd ever had. It
was crazy.
We changed the stage for that one, and if I remember correctly, that was the last time that Tiesto had ever played actual club venue without it going on to be a stage
like
venue.
An arena type.
Yeah. So it was seminal moments, mate. We're involved in some big nights down there. So tell me what you remember. So you started your residency around what year was that?
I think we said it was 2006, maybe.
Yeah.
Like my official residency. Paul van Dyk, another Passion legend, he was playing, and I got to open for all these amazing, like, superstar DJs, if you like, at the time, and I was still this kind of fledgling music producer and DJ. And
but you definitely had your own style.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
Always.
We had a couple of failed tracks that we did together.
Yeah, they were okay.
They were good. Yeah. Paul van Dyk played. He did an edit of one, didn't he?
Yeah. So yeah, I've always had my own style. Like Passion's like renowned. We were talking about how it moved into trance.
Yeah.
Like a very specific type of trance, actually.
Yeah.
My music's always been like flirting with a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Trance included, house, techno. I mean, I don't try and be a prisoner of my own music. I like to just try and, see music as an expression, a way of sharing like the sounds that I love personally. So I've always thought I was quite a good sort of opener at Passion, because I could read the crowd a bit and not play any of the big tracks, because I always used to try and be one of these cool DJs who just plays like white labels and all these.
I remember distinctly you I mean, like, you've always had this very clear cut way that you wanted to portray yourself, always. I don't know whether you ever realised that, but you were like, never wanted to play classics or overly play classics or not really involved, because remember we having a discussion about that. Well, we've got to play classics. Not, well, I don't really want to play classics, like Jay. Right, and your residents, you've got to do it.
I remember that.
And we had that discussion about it, and I was like, okay, well, just try and play some different type of classics then to be involved in it. But you really had this very sort of clear cut, I'm going to do stuff my own way, and that's what set you out. And I really, obviously, your career's taken over to such a high state at the minute, and I've been really impressed with how you managed to always stay true to what you're actually thinking of.
I think, like, as a music artist, the best thing to do is to do that. Actually, like, why would you want to make music that sounds like someone else? Because that person already exists.
Yeah,
there's a DJ that already sounds like that.
Yeah.
So I think any aspiring music producer or DJ, I always say, unique identity will make you stand out from the rest.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 of those DJs. Be yourself and share, like, really strongly believe in sharing your passion and your direction and the way you want to go with things. And I think, a lot of people who like very specific things will not like what I do, because I'm a little bit different. But
so where do you feel that your first big track came? So you had that first one, which was called
The Solar Planet. Yeah, that was my first ever release. It was a 138 trance, piano trance tune, if you like. I don't know if I've always created sort of steady tracks. I would never say I've had like a hit that's just skyrocketed me. I've been climbing the ladder kind of like slowly. I've released so many records. I had to print off my discography the other day for a visa, actually, and show them, and I was writing down, I was like, Jesus,
right,
most of this is absolute crap.
We haven't forgotten some of them like I've done mine.
Oh yeah, I've forgotten loads of them. I mean, you've been behind some great records as well. Good God, Whiplash and...
Yeah, but I've just been rinsing them for 20 odd years.
Yeah, but they're like...
Well, we had another track we did together. Remember your brother played the guitar?
No.
Your brother played the guitar one, and George played it on Radio 1. He did. It was like a rock. It was like a...
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember how it goes now.
Yeah, it was a bit like Ferry Corsten when he got into his
that's
Body
right.
Rock song.
Yeah. Yeah, and your
I
brother
remember
played
that.
guitar in the next room
Completely
in your
forgot about
studio.
That's crazy, yeah.
So okay, so let's rewind then. So before we get onto what you're doing now and how you're conquering America and all of those things that you're doing now, let's go back to there was a point where you were Passion resident with alongside me, and we worked and we did the promotion together.
Yeah.
And there became a point. I think it was around about 2009 or 2008. I think it was late 2008, where I think the recession had started to hit. Do you remember it was the credit crunch they called it, and people suddenly zipped up their pockets and decided they weren't.
And there was loads of factors, the smoking ban as well around that time.
Right. Yeah,
like, culturally people have changed. And
and it became really, really difficult to put events on. And previously before that, I think we've been doing monthly, and we wanted to, or I personally said, I think we're doing too many, because we ended up we were
saturating
losing money.
Yeah.
They wanted us to put on classics, not just once, not just twice. They wanted us to put on a monthly classics event.
Well, I suppose you got cheap overheads for classics.
Exactly.
And this cheap ticket price, enticing more people to come. And
I wasn't comfortable with doing all of that, and so we'd had a bit of a. I had a bit of fallout with the owners at that time. By this time, the original owners had left, and there were some other owners that came in, and then we ended up parting company around about 2009. So I left then, and I ended up going to the Syndicate in Blackpool for a year, and ended up running that one, which is Britain's biggest club at 4,500 people.
I've been in there.
What was I thinking? 4,500 people.
Made things hard for yourself.
Yeah. So, but then you were offered the opportunity to then take over and keep Passion alive.
Yeah.
So it was a big step. I mean, obviously we'd work together. You were helping doing the marketing promotion. You went from being a resident to then helping with the marketing.
There was a stage where, whilst you were still running Passion at the Emporium, you were sort of showing me how to promote. You were showing me sort of your sort of ways of doing things. But yeah, around that time, I mean, it's quite difficult actually for me. It was quite stressful, that transition from you leaving and me becoming the promoter. Like, I never actually asked for this opportunity. It just sort of happened somehow, and then I found myself just running the thing, and it was honestly tough. It was a very difficult economic time, as you've just touched on.
Yeah.
And, just trying to put bums on seats and get people to drive to Colville.
Yeah.
When, we didn't have massive budgets and couldn't get the DJs because culturally, like, big DJs were going abroad a lot more and playing like bigger events. Like you said, Tiesto was doing more arenas. True. DJs were not really doing the club circuits as much anymore. So there was
and they were getting big money for doing that. So they would go, well, why would we come to a small town in Colville?
It's not even just the money. It's just the change of, like, people used to go to clubs because the clubs was the attraction, right? Yeah. The brand was Passion, Gatecrasher, Cream, like all these like famous nostalgic names you can think of, all of them. People went there, regardless of who was playing a lot of the time. But then the DJs became the brand, so people followed the artists more. So people didn't go clubbing for the club as much anymore. They'd go clubbing because of who was playing there. Yeah. And if you've not got the lineups, like, it's really hard to. Put bums on seats.
And you had to trying to be creative all the time, trying to work with other brands. I remember you working with some other brands down there, trying to put Passion and Storm on the same night, because that was obviously the Storm was the harder version of it. And I know how hard it was.
Really difficult. And I was quite new to all of this promotion stuff as well. So it was a lot of stress, and I honestly did the best things, made the best decisions I could do with what I had to work with at the time, and I put everything into that. And like we touched on earlier, I love Passion, I love the Emporium. This is my first like proper clubbing experience, and
but it was tough because also the people that started off back in the mid-90s, right, it was at that time when they'd gone, right, okay, we're all grown up a little bit now, we're going to start to have children, so our priorities start to change. And I think that's what happened in 2008. People say, okay, well, our kids are in school, this, that, the other, we're not going to go clubbing as much. And there's been a resurgence just years later because their kids are grown up. But there was, there was around about that time it became really difficult for everyone to put events on, really tough. And I think people still had the love for it, but there was a little bit of a nod. Oh, I'm not going to go out as quite as often as they did because they weren't 21 anymore or whatever,
absolutely.
didn't have the energy for it, and
so
you probably inherited it at a really difficult time. So it was like hats off to you guys for. You worked with Jimmy there, didn't you?
Jimmy, good friend of mine, obviously. He always, I remember him going on the mic at one of the finales we did, saying that I kept it alive almost.
You did, you guys did
around that difficult
because it could have just fell off to nothing.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of pressure. As a business, the people who own the Emporium need to pay the bills and the rent and all these. There's so much to pay for, and if people are going out less often, there's less nights, there's less bar takings, there's less of everything.
Yeah.
So it's hard to reinvest as well into talent and into equipment and all these sort of things.
Yeah.
So it
was a tough time. So you did an amazing job trying to keep the brand alive around that time. And then what happened? How did the decision come about to then get to the point where the club was going to not open anymore?
I didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
I knew that we needed to do better. But the events, each of the events were probably still doing okay. But as I just touched on, it wasn't enough to keep everything afloat.
So somebody had made a decision somewhere to go, right, this is going to be the very last night.
Yeah. I mean, that was don't get me wrong, the event was amazing, and as you can imagine, it sold out instantly. But yeah, it was again a difficult time, especially for me because I was saying to myself, what am I going to do now? But you know what? Actually, every cloud, I've actually had more time to invest into me as GENIX as an artist.
Yeah. So that sort of was. So I remember, we've spoken about this previously about editing your last ever set down, and you did so many.
There's 40 tracks in
Did you write for the last ever set?
Yeah, it was. I practiced it so much, and it was a bit. I wanted to play all the songs I liked.
Yeah.
And I didn't have enough time, so I just thought, right, let's cut all the boring bits at the start out and just play as many records as I can and try and send it off as best as I can. And I was hoping that. At the time it closed, because I had people, when people at the end of the night they get kind of a bit threatening, play one more, play one more.
When you go, no, because I've just played 40 and 50. How long was it? An hour?
I can't remember. It might have been 2 hours, but anyway, I played The Sound of Goodbye as the last ever one. I thought it was a nice fitting tune. And I've got
you don't want to be pressured into playing any more.
No, but everyone's stood there. I'm you've got to go, because the door staff were no more, because everyone's assuming that because it's the last ever one, it's just going to run on till 6, 7, 8 a.m. People were putting bets on what time's it going to go on till. But yeah, I remember they said turn it off, and we're getting booed.
Well, that's not how it's supposed to end. You're not supposed to be booed at the end of it. You put all the effort into making it really good.
It's just one of those funny things, I guess. We knew that the club wasn't doing enough to stay afloat. I mean, me and Jimmy obviously doing everything we can. The amount of different events Jimmy came up with, not trance events, but other events, just trying to fill the gaps in between Passion and Storm events. So many different crazy stuff that didn't really work as well.
Well, that was probably helped him now.
Yeah, maybe.
And those roots of having to learn as a promoter to try and keep things afloat. I mean, I remember him doing Ecstatic up there, and I think he did some other stuff as well, didn't he? So that's probably helped him along the way as well. But then he got to the point where you go, okay, you're now off to be GENIX.
Yeah, but I mean, I always.
So what was it? What did you do then? So then.
I always was GENIX, obviously, but
but
I used
sorry,
to.
Don't say that. All of a sudden, superheroes to GENIX.
No, so I was doing. I was only working part time as a promoter, and the other few days a week I was working on trying to make my music better.
Yeah.
And at the time, do you know what? I remember people saying to me Andy Bagley, a good friend of mine, and Mark West, Damien would do so much better without Passion as GENIX.
Yeah.
And it's just because I've had more time to actually just concentrate and work on developing my sound. It took me years to do it, an immense amount of time. And that's what happened to me then. And it was scary. I didn't earn a lot of money for a long time.
I could imagine.
It was hard, and you've got bills to pay.
Yeah.
and making money out of music
was difficult.
if you're not a big name, it's impossible.
Yeah, because I remember when back in 2001 when I was releasing Good God and all that, you know, you were getting good money for vinyl records because you were physical sales.
I know people who've pressed a white label off and paid their mortgage of the house off.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You know, people bought music. People don't buy music anymore.
No.
So there's no money filtering through to the people who make the music.
Well, they bought music, but it was digital. And it was like it was pence, wasn't it? It was not the same.
Well, streaming's there now, so I mean, you know, we make nothing out of that pretty much.
No.
I see music now as a promotion tool. Actually, it's not a revenue source. It's put your name in lights, and people want to come to see the lights. You know.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a different approach.
Okay. Before I ask you about Junior Beats and how you got with that, I'm just going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Right, so what interests me is obviously your DJing career was taking off, your production work was taking off, and Junior Beats, one of my favourite labels, Bun Beyond, one of my favourite artists, and we had them at Passion. We did a Passion live with them.
Yeah, I was there
back
for
in
that.
the day. It was so. Do you
I
remember who
texted
was on?
Jono the flyer that the other day. I was like, "Do you remember this?" And he was like, "Yeah, I remember that well."
So I remember that they set up some music equipment. They literally did it live with keyboards. And what was the singers that we had?
I think Justine was there,
Yeah.
Suisa, and No One Earth was on the flyer. So if they did that, I'm guessing Zoe was there as well, Zoe Johnson.
Right, I can't actually remember. We've got the video somewhere, which we'll probably show you in a bit.
But I remember, I think Jono was on the keys, Tony was on his guitar, and Parvo was probably on keys as well.
Well, I remember in the afternoon, right, we'd gone over and set the club up, and obviously, being a club promoter, it's a long night, because you go, obviously, open at 9, probably through till 5 o'clock, as it was at that time. And going over in the daytime as well was really tiring as well, so I knew I had to meet above and beyond over in the club, and they were all setting up, doing their sound checks and this, that, the other. And when they'd been here two or 3 hours, and I was like, my son had just been born, so it must have been 2001. It must have been, and I distinctly remember going, "Come on, you pedantic music artist, could you hurry up, will you? I've got to go home and see my son." And I sort of like expected it to be taken as a bit of a joke, and they all just looked at me as if to say, "Shut up, we are doing what we are doing, and don't tell us what to do." And I was like, "Oh no, what the ground to open up and zip me up, big zips come out and you jump in the hole." But I remember them playing on that night, and they were really, really good.
I don't think they've done it since. I can't remember them doing anything like that since. But that was the first time I met them as well.
Right, okay.
I've got one of my records signed.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Pavo or Jono gave me a satellite CD, a single on that night. And they've written on it, one of only 3. It was satellite.
Amazing.
So yeah, so that was that. So I was big fans of theirs.
And that
anyway.
went on to be a huge passion. Satellite.
Still is. And I'm pretty sure Tony said he told me that he wrote that about Passion, but I don't know whether he was just trying to appease me on that. But anyway, so and then you went and how did you get your first record signed to them then?
Well, I've spoken a few times. I used to be a hustler. I used to send as well as hanging off DJ booths giving people music, I used to post, I even know Ministry of Sound's address off by heart. So I used to send them so many CDs all the time. I did the same, used to send stuff to them. Junior Beats, like, can I have a remix, can I have a go at this, can I go? No, I see, if you try hard enough and you open your own doors in this world, eventually you'll, laws of attraction will say something will come back. And with Junior Beats, I probably at the time was just asking for remixes, and I got, I think, 7 Skies Caffeine was the first remix I did.
All right.
Got played on EastEnders as well, claims to fame.
Oh wow!
It was in the pub scene, and that someone texted me after it came out saying,
"That's
your
amazing!"
tunes on in the background in the Queen Vic or something like this.
Oh yeah, didn't you have one at the Olympics as well? Was it Olympics or? Euros or
can't
something
remember.
on the BBC. Was the BBC play something of yours?
Last year
Yeah.
they did loads of they did. I can't remember now.
Anyway,
It was
sorry,
loads of stuff,
I'm digressing.
yeah. So on Junior Beats, then I started releasing music on Spinning, Vandit, Stage Trance, like Armin's labels, and I was doing too much actually, saturating my sound across. I was just trying to get known amongst everyone. So,
Gosh, you have no idea what you're doing at the time.
No,
It's just
I've had a lot of advice
since.
since, and it's best to have your music at a specific home, like one label, so people know where to go to get your music. So I was trying to focus on Junior Beats because I love their music. Again, like you said, big fan of everything they've ever released, and I just started to do. After a few remixes, then I sent a few singles. They started liking my music, and it's kind of gone from there, really. I've had 2 albums now, compilations, and
That's incredible.
yeah, it's been
You don't just go from that, though, do you? It's a long slog.
It's a
isn't
long
it?
slog.
So you don't just go, oh yeah, I've had 2 albums now. And you're
No,
like,
no.
it's like you say, it starts off. People always say to me, oh, how do you get to be what you've got? And you're like, well, you don't see yourself as where you at. You just see
It's a
these
journey.
stepping stones.
Absolutely a
that
journey,
you get in, all the way. There's not like one big.
unless you have a
very
hit,
rare.
unless you have a hit record like
Yeah.
Martin Garrix with Animals, for
Yeah.
example. Some random guy came out of nowhere with this hit record, and now he's superstar.
Yeah.
For 99.9% of people, it doesn't work like that.
No.
You got to graft, you've got to work hard.
And it's tenacity as
Yeah,
well. You've
I
got
see
to
it as
really
like
be
climbing
tenacious,
a
haven't
ladder,
you?
you know.
Yeah.
You should never get frustrated with other artists who might be climbing it faster than you. You just go, everyone goes at their own speed.
Yeah.
As long as you get there and like set yourself goals, achievable goals. I've always done that, and I still do that. And just etch these off. Like playing at Amnesia in Ibiza was one of them.
Yeah.
Playing at Passion was one of them. Playing in Ministry of Sound was one of them. Now I look back at my career,
And you think,
I've done all those things.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, never going to be able to do all this, but
no.
you do it. So yeah, just by trying and never giving up.
So you got the records, and they're starting to come through, and Junior Beats, and then you touched on going into Guy and Adele being your manager.
Yeah, Guy, obviously a Passion legend. Good friend
He
of mine.
refuses
as
to
well.
play for us now, don't you, Guy? I'm sorry, but there you go.
Yeah, absolute legend. What a great person he is, and an amazing DJ. As
Yeah,
well.
he's fantastic.
Absolutely amazing DJ, music knowledge.
Do you know?
and
I remember before he became really big. Right, and Guy probably won't forgive me for telling you this. And we were in Miami for the music conference, and I was at a Lennox Lewis boxing match, I think. And he stayed with us all night long, and he hung out with us all night long to try and get a booking at Passion.
Really?
Yeah, that was way back in Miami. But we can't. So and then we became friends with him, and then obviously it's easy to book somebody who you become friends with. So,
Yeah.
but I remember him hanging out with us all night long, and then he became monthly resident with us as well, and obviously became Passion legend, and some of his sets were legendary.
I mean, I've seen loads of flyers where he's like the headliner, and then you got Armin
Yeah.
and Tiesto and people
Yeah.
below Guy. I mean,
But Guy was extremely popular at
Yeah.
Leicester.
yeah,
And
rightly so, yeah.
at Passion, yeah.
Yeah.
And probably still is, but he refuses to play anymore, doesn't he? He's given up completely now, has he?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah.
sure actually. I don't see him DJing too much anymore.
No.
But,
So
yeah.
he took you on as on his agency then, did he?
Yeah, we're not working together now actually.
Yeah.
Not falling out or anything. Just people going different paths. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I was working with Guy for a while, and he tried to sort of elevate me a bit, and he did some cool stuff for me, and I appreciate him for that. But yeah.
And now you're with York Artist Management?
Yeah, so Phil York,
Yeah.
the hard house DJ from back
Yeah,
in the day
yeah.
as well. Yeah, he
I played for him at Nuclear Puppy in Edinburgh.
Did you?
Yeah. He's a good guy, Phil is.
Yeah, great guy, and him and Anthony and the people at York do my DJ bookings now. So yeah,
And you
it's,
get to go.
around the world. Yeah, mainly, I mean, Passion.
So just give people, if they don't know, sort of what your crazy schedules are like.
Okay.
So before, I know we've spoke about this before your son was born. You had to take a bit of a break, obviously.
Yeah.
Your son was born just before Christmas, right?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I did in January. Within 1 week, I'd been to
This year?
Yeah, I've been to Las Vegas, Canada twice, San Diego, Chicago, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, London, Ontario. Had 9 flights in a week, and I did 4 shows with jet lag and no sleep. So
Right.
that's the
So
non-glamorous.
that's yeah.
That's the non-glamorous side of DJing.
Well,
right?
everybody thinks it is dead glamorous, isn't it?
That's because everybody sees the social media stuff,
Yeah.
right? So
They-
it looks
they
great.
see the bit that we create. That we go, look at how great we are. And you're right. They see that, but they don't see you travelling to these things. There's no sleep.
I did one.
Been away from family.
Yeah, I flew from London to Los Angeles to Hawaii, did a show with no sleep, and back to Seattle, and did another show all in 2 days as well. It's just you don't know where you are. Like you just, and it's strange though, because as soon as you start DJing, you just get this adrenaline, endorphins just go through
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and you just forget
Yeah.
about all the tiredness.
So the shows are the good bit.
The shows are definitely the good
Yeah.
bit. It's amazing. I mean,
And the rewards that come with the shows are you know.
Yeah, I mean, music's an amazing thing. It's an unspoken. It's not a physical thing, and it connects with people around the world. I get so many messages from people saying how my music's changed their lives. They've got married, you know, it's helped them get out of dark places and done all these things. And I've never met these people, and they're thanking me for doing what I do, and that's the ultimate payment.
It is, yeah.
Absolutely.
And we've got a very similar sort of thing, but on a daily basis we get people from Passion saying exactly the same thing, you know.
That's the most rewarding thing is actually people telling you
they don't realise the hard work that goes into it,
Yeah.
and all the stress and all the time that you lose with your family, you know, promoting, DJing, travelling and whatever. And there's a lot of big thing, especially since the Avicii obviously films and everything that were coming out recently, is how do you balance and make sure that you've got the work-life balance right, that you've got your mental health right, and the travelling and everything else. Have you taken?
I was suffering actually a couple of years ago. I had serious anxiety issues from travel. I didn't think because I'm quite a strong-minded person, I didn't think it was anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety really was. I thought it was a headache or whatever. But actually, I was suffering really bad. I've been into urgent care in America, like my hands locking up. It's
Really?
Yeah, and a few times I've been on tablets and stuff to try and help me, which made me worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's I hear so many similarities with other touring artists.
Do you
just
speak
the
to the
stresses.
other artists about it as
We've
well?
there's a big group that Armin set up.
Right.
He's a really good guy actually. He cares for other of his
because he's just announced recently I think he's going to be cutting back on some of his touring and
probably,
stuff like that.
and you know he
because of
deserves to. He's got a family and a life as well. You know,
Yeah.
It's a big sacrifice sometimes, and you know I was suffering with like all the small things. I didn't think it was one big thing, and I found out it was loads of small things. So I've dealt with all the small things. And like alcohol's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I quit drinking quite often. I did 9 months last year, and I often do 6 months spells where because it's not sustainable to, you know, you're doing 4 gigs in a row in 4 days and a wheel of champagne, vodka, and whatever. But everybody who's there is fresh. They want to party with you and do this. And then you go to the airport with no sleep, and you go to the next club and you're absolutely exhausted, and the next load of alcohol and people come out. So
well, I mean, there's also that thing. It seems like as a promoter, you have artists have riders, which obviously a lot of the punters don't necessarily know about. You know, and if you want to ask for anything, you can ask for anything. And a lot of artists now, you see the riders, it's just water or Diet Coke or whatever, because you know.
I have food on mine because sometimes I'm travelling. I'll get to a show and I've had no time for food, so I'll have some fruit or whatever. So. Water, absolutely. Sometimes I've some gin or something.
But do you feel like you're on top of that now? Then do you feel like they got to the point where
it was understanding that I had it was the hardest thing. I didn't think I had it, but I was suffering. So it took me years. I was in and out of the doctors, like I say, understanding it and cutting back, and you know anything in life, in small doses can be managed. Yeah. But too much of anything is too much. So it's just understanding that, and you know I'm getting older as well, so I'm not like immune to hangovers and immune to tiredness like I used to be.
You're old. How do you think I feel?
But yeah, it's just.
Well, you see, like alcohol and DJs have been a massive part of things over the years. Like I said,
it's a social job.
Well, I joked about having that. I got £8 a night, whatever it was, and all I could drink. Well, that became the norm. So then you drink 7 nights a week, and then 8 months a year, and you drink every single night, and it wasn't just a little bit because you were partying with absolutely everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
And then when I came back to this country, and obviously my DJ career was more focused about doing gigs in this country, and maybe like 5 in a weekend in the UK back in 2001. So. But there was always drinks available. I was still always drinking all the time, and then having to get up on the Monday morning and go and promote the nightclub ready for the next week.
Exactly,
so it's not easy. It's not an easy time. But alcohol abuse can be a serious thing. Although everybody does know that I'm actually partial to a tipple now and again, occasionally. But you're right; it's everything in moderation, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm glad
absolutely.
So how do you deal with that now? What do you do? You know, you got your support group. You got like
Well, I don't drink as much when I'm DJing, and especially when I'm travelling. I try just to cut back and have little to none. Sleep as much as I can. I'm a terrible sleeper on flights, so that's difficult. But yeah, not too much coffee. Just all these things.
Yeah, and you're
meditating, listening to chill out music.
Yeah, you do a lot of running and stuff.
Exercise
like that,
actually. Sorry, I missed that. That's the most important thing for me. I do it
I
wherever I go.
Every time I see you, you're up some mountain somewhere or
mountains,
whatever,
running, hiking. I'm lucky. I've got friends, especially in North America, where I can stay now, and I can go running off these old logging roads into the mountains just on my own, like scared of the bears that might get me and stuff. But,
cool. So okay, so 2 albums under your belt now.
Yeah.
What's next? Where do you go?
More albums. I'm going to do. Yeah, I've just built a new music studio because I've had a little baby boy, so I've had to move my music.
Congratulations. What's he called?
Bowie. His name.
Bowie, yeah.
Not anything to do with David Bowie.
No.
That's normally the first question.
And how old is he now? Is it
4 months today
4 months,
or yesterday?
right. So
I
in
think,
20 years' time, when you're watching this, hello Bowie, who's 22.
I'll probably still be
Yeah,
DJing.
yeah. Well, if you're anything like me, you probably will be. If you can do it for life, mate.
Yeah.
Well, you remember meeting my son?
Yeah,
I was saying who was.
Last time I was here, he was like this big.
He's been off to university now and everything else, and actually he'll be filming for us at the next Passion.
Amazing.
So, you won't miss him because he looks a bit like me. Yeah. So next level is going to be.
Yeah, more music. My whole life is built around making music, so I'm going to continue doing that. I've got ideas for a new album, which won't be coming out next year. It's like 2 or 3
have
years.
you ever thought about diversifying into other? I mean, you're so creative.
I mean, I'll make everything from chill out to hard techno. Like,
Yeah.
There's a massive spectrum. Like I say, I don't try and pigeonhole myself.
Do you do that? Do you put it out as different names, or is it just?
Well, I've released on Anjuna Beats chill out and techno. So,
Right, okay.
no. But yeah, I've started to make some more. I'd say more serious techno music. I'm going to be doing that under an alias,
Yeah.
TBC. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I hate thinking of names. So I've got that. I've got some more like warehousey events sort of things we want to throw this year. So I'm going to make some music for that. And yeah, another album. I'd like to make a chill out album as well. You know, for people who like yoga and all these sort of things. You know, because it streams well as well.
And so you've been part of some of the big Bun Beyond shows or Anjuna Beach shows and whatever. And every time I see you at that Red Rocks, I feel so like green with envy because that was that.
Well,
was that the most amazing one, or was there any
No,
better
well,
than that?
I've done so many. Like the Gorge Amphitheatre's insane venue.
Where's that?
It's in Washington in
Right.
North America. That was nearly 25,000 people one time, and it was just in a natural beauty spot, and it's really special.
Is it?
The Red Rocks thing, I've got a horror story. Yeah, it's a pinnacle. It's like a bucket list venue, right? So I've not played it, and then I get to play at Red Rocks. And this was I've just done a massive tour. I've just been away for months and months, and this was the last show before my wife was due. Actually, 2 days after this, so I was risking missing the birth of my child to do this show.
Right.
But yeah, get there. There was a bit of a technical hitch just before the first artist went on. We fixed it. We thought nothing of it. First artist plays fine. Second artist plays fine. My set, so I'm playing. I think there's like 9,000 odd people there in this beautiful venue. If you haven't seen Red Rocks, Google a picture of it because it's insane. But yeah, the mixer, all the sounds started flowing through, so the faders weren't working. The volume master out on the mixer was not working. So I was queuing up a track, and when you hear the first kick, it was like boom, boom, like through the whole PA to everyone. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So I worked out that the sound was going straight through the mix and straight to the PA, and I've got like 1 minute 30 of my track left. So I'm there like scamping around, like trying to find a sound guy. Nobody there. Sound guy's gone for a cup of tea or something. So I don't know what to do.
Cup of tea.
Well, he wasn't there.
So what did you do?
I had to loop it. I had to loop the song. Like, so there's like a 16-bar loop of the song going. People start clocking on, they like start clapping and cheering because the music sounded the same for like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. I've got no idea what to do. Anyway, I get a sound guy.
Oh, nightmare!
I actually did this because it's filmed. I've got it on my laptop. I don't watch it, but
Don't watch it.
I was literally running like left to right of the stage, like trying to find someone, and I actually pinched myself. Because you must have had dreams as a DJ.
Yeah.
Do you know where your song...
Oh, yeah, I do. I get recurring dreams.
Time.
Yeah, me too.
So you're playing your set as a DJ in your dream, and your record's running out. You can't find a new one, even though you've got loads there.
And I get in my dream, everybody sits down on the floor.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
I've had loads of like nightmare things like this.
So
and
this
I
was
felt
this was that
this
moment.
was really happening.
So you had to
At Red
literally
Rocks.
had
I
to pinch
genuinely
yourself.
did pinch myself because I thought it wasn't real. I thought this can't be happening. Anyway, I had to stop the music. Turned everything off, turned everything back on. It was okay. Then it happened again after about another 2 tracks.
Did it?
Yeah, so I'm doing the same thing again. I'm looping. I'm actually trying
Was it the mixer's problem? Was it? Because you must have had 4 decks.
Yeah, there was 4 decks. Yeah,
Right.
the sound was going straight through. So whatever I played just came through. The faders on the mixer was irrelevant. Whatever you played on the CD you played would just come out.
So you would have thought they'd just switch the mixer out, then, wouldn't you? Or...
Yeah, you couldn't mix. You literally couldn't mix. So
What
we
did they do in
we
the
did
end?
switch the mixer.
Did you?
And then the rest of my set was okay. So the sound's gone off twice, and like I actually got loads of love from people online,
Right,
and
okay.
people understood and said I did dealt with a really difficult
Yeah.
situation. But Red Rocks, like of all the venues I've done, so many small venues. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
problem was the link thing, what you plug all the Ethernet cables in.
Yeah.
That was conflicting. The specific one, I'll tell you it anyway.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good to know. That was conflicting with the software in the Pioneer A9
Right.
DJ mixer. So it was
Right.
kind of like just sound was flowing through. It was horrible. I was really, really upset by
I
that.
bet you were as well.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine because I remember when I was at Blackpool, we talked about Tiny Temper didn't turn up. I had to go on stage to do it, and instead of everybody being really sympathetic, they bottled me.
At least you didn't
That
try
was
and sing.
Blackpool. And all these plastic, but fortunately, they were plastic bottles. All these plastic bottled lords and one bouncing off my head. That's on video somewhere as well. We should try and find that. So there you go. They got the love for you.
Yeah.
What did they do for me? They bottle over. Oh, mate. Well, fantastic story that.
Okay, so after the Passion finale, which I was involved with, you started off Passion again. So how did that come about?
Well, I think there was about a year's gap between. I don't think the Passion 19 party ever happened. I think that was the 18 was the last one. There's 2 parties that didn't happen. I think it was 19 and 26, both for very different reasons. One was COVID 26, and then 19, it was just lying dormant. So the opportunity came to be involved in the trademark of the Passion brand. So I took that opportunity and decided to try and start something up. Obviously, we knew that the venue was closed at that particular moment in time, so we were looking to try and do something else, but we didn't know whether there'd be any interest in redoing something after such a big finale. We didn't know whether anyone would be done with it. Obviously I wasn't involved in that finale thing, and I can't tell you how I actually felt on that particular night when it felt like the whole of the world was having a party and
You weren't there.
I wasn't there.
It's your Passion's your baby, you know.
Well, I know,
It
but
is.
it
I know
wasn't.
I've been the promoter as well.
No, but
it's
it
always
wasn't.
been-
It was started off, with alongside there was a lot of big other team. There was Mark and Eric and all the other people that were involved in it. Yeah, so but I did feel I was inherently involved in it, and I don't want to go back to how I felt on that particular night. But anyway, so we got to the point where we were okay. Well, let's look and see how we can try and start something. So we did something small to start with. We went to we teamed up with Joe Quinn and we did a Halloween party at Trent Barton bus station, which was a derelict bus station, for a Halloween in Nottingham, and people had to crawl through this derelict bus depot. You know, like when they go down.
Sounds like an illegal rave type
It
thing.
was.
this.
It was. Yeah. We set up a sound system. They got 2. They got house. Joe was doing his house music in one. It's like a secret party project in one. We had Passion in the other, and there was just me. I think it was Westy and we had one guest in there, and we were, didn't know what to expect, whether there would be 100 people turn up, 50 people or whatever, and it was actually really quite busy. I think it was a good, it was a decent representative of the night. So then we went and did some smaller stuff at a bar in Loughborough.
As Passion.
As Passion, it was like we did a Passion Classics there. We just tested the water. So that was in the November. The October, Halloween to a party. I think it was November the 1st, and then we did Passion Classics with just me and Westy on to see if there's any more scope for it. And we had a good turnout for that as well. It was more of a private party. It was two smaller venues. We didn't know whether it was big enough to go back to somewhere else. Didn't know whether it had the following at that moment in time.
You went to Nottingham, I think.
That was that one in Nottingham with the Halloween one. But then we did one in Loughborough, and so we decided to go. I teamed up with Dave, who's my business partner for Passion now, and we put a proposal together. And we went, okay, let's meet up with Loughborough University. And we went balls deep, and we put on Paul van Dyk and Ferry Corsten on the very first one for the 20th birthday. We thought it was an opportunity to go and to do something really big. We went and met the guys at Loughborough University, and they'd done some of the other stuff, and we were the first outside promoter that they'd worked with for something like 12 years or something. And we went in and said, well, okay, well, we worked with all of them. They gave us lots of sound and lighting and everything else, and tried to put this production on.
So how was it hard for you to, because
yeah,
Passion was synonymous with the Emporium,
yeah.
so and it was the music, the people all worked well in
Yeah.
that environment. Was it hard to kind of replicate
completely
that
Well,
in a
because
new
you've always
venue?
got,
Right?
you've always got in
shout.
your mind, right, how the Emporium looked and how the people were stood around and everything else. So anything you do anywhere else, everyone's always going to compare it to what it was. But it's the people that make Passion.
You've always said that.
Yeah, it's what the tagline's always been: the music, the people, the passion. But it is still difficult, and it was particularly difficult at that moment in time at Loughborough University. We had a fantastic facilities. Right, there was loads of places to sit. It was clean. There was discounted drinks on the bar because they had student prices and whatever. We had some of the world's biggest DJs in there. But it still didn't quite have that same feel at that moment in time. Do you know what I mean? So we did some really good parties there. We did around about 2 years there. Was it 2 years, something like that? And we did really well. But then in the meantime, some new owners, who were relatives of the original owners that closed it down, then decided that we were going to start up the Emporium again. So that became, if that had just shut down, would have been okay. Well, it'd have had to have a new sort of fresh outlook, but they didn't. They went and opened it up again.
Is this when you go back to the Emporium?
Yeah, and there was a time when someone else went in, tried to pretend to be us, and as has happened many times over the years, and whatever happens, it's always synonymous with the three of us, isn't it? The Holy Trinity, so to speak. So we then eventually got to the point where we were talking, and they said, "Come back and do something." So we did something called Back to Black, and we went back there and did something as a return to the Emporium, back to the underground, and we started to get some bigger DJs up, and that took us up to the 25th birthday, which is when you came back, I think.
Yeah. I played with Ferry, I think, that night.
Yeah, Ferry Corsten.
Got a photo somewhere.
Yeah. So that was a very, very popular night. We're building up to that.
It feels like it's been on a trajectory. More popular again. Not that it never was, but I feel like maybe it's a trust thing with the club, is that they see that this thing is still going and they're coming back to
over 30 years you're going to have a roller coaster, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Well, people start off young, enthusiastic, and then they get a bit older and have kids and come out. There was a credit crunch along the way. There was a point where you think it's going to stop because everyone thinks this is our time, you're too old for it. And then if you carry it on a little bit further, they go, okay, kids are growing up a bit, fancy going out a bit again now, and then they started to go out a little bit more, and it came to the point, like in the 25th birthday party, where it really caught on fire, and we did amazingly on that night. It was on course on that night to be possibly the best night that we'd ever done at Passion.
Wow, it's a statement.
Until we had the death there. It severely affected me, that did, and to the point where I didn't think I was going to promote ever again. I really didn't.
I can imagine it was tough. I mean, is this why you've moved from the Emporium to the current venue in Leicester?
it got to the point on the 28th birthday. After the 28th birthday, there was some things that we considered as promoters not to sit right with us. What that was happening at the venue. And so we approached the owners, and this was after the event, and we weren't particularly happy with how things had been ran. They wanted us to put more events on. We said we were willing to put more events on, but we felt that X, Y, and Z needed to be dealt with before we could feel that we could be in a position to make sure that we were comfortable putting more events on there. And the guys at the time decided that they didn't want us to be involved, and they wanted to work with other promoters.
Okay, so that was when you transitioned to Leicester 02.
We had no choice.
Yeah.
We were left with being told that we weren't going to be putting any more events on that year.
Okay.
We had to look for another venue. So we looked at various different venues around Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire, and we went and met with the guys at the O2.
Imagine it was difficult finding another new home.
Yeah, again,
yeah.
You know, having to do it once and to come out of it again. You know, some people give up.
Testament to you. That
I just
you
don't feel
didn't.
like I could do. Just don't feel like it was the right thing to do, just to give up. So we went and met the guys at the O2 in Leicester, and they've been incredibly helpful since. They understood. It's actually the first manager that was there actually had been Fergie's tour manager, and he'd come to the Emporium years ago. Yeah, so he knew a little bit about what we were doing. So we went and seen all the facilities there, all the stuff that they'd got, all the things that I knew that the club was really wanted in the 21st century. And yes, it wasn't the Emporium, but I knew that with what they were doing, one, they were going to be saved, two, they're going to have a good night, and three, we could put on a successful event in the 21st century and not be worried about what any of the consequences might happen afterwards. So we did amazingly last year with the 29th birthday. We did the Classic to start with, and the 29th birthday last year, and then that leads us up to the amazing 30th birthday lineup that we've got this year. And you try and pick lineups over the years, and you know what it's like as a promoter, right? You try and pick the hottest ones that you can get, the ones that the punters are asking for the most, that fits in the right budget. So it's always like a Rubik's Cube that doesn't really quite fit together, doesn't it? But I think we got it right with this one. I think this lineup.
How are you feeling about the event? Excited?
Yeah, we're 2 weeks to go, right? And it's always get to the point where there's so much to do still. So much to do. I mean, we have to go through more health and safety for these events than we've ever had to do before. It has to be more organised than any other events that we've had to do, you know, making sure that all the artists knows which entrances to go to, and making sure that, and you know, even things like on the night actually being involved in safety briefings before we go out, so in case there's a terrorist attacks and all sorts of stuff like that. So there's so much more to do. But when we open those doors, just like we did all those years ago, and those punters walk in, we've asked for an earlier, they've never put a show on at 6 o'clock at night before, it goes on till 3, and they'll walk in at 6 o'clock, and I know full well as soon as they walk in the dance floor, bang, boom, it'll be gone. They'll be there early, and it will go off. It will go off. I'm nervous about playing the last, because I'm doing the last set. I've just given my set time. I'm nervous about doing the last set, but I'm also going to do the first set as well. So I'm going to do the very first set in the main room. I'm going to do an old school 95.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, just like really like of all the tunes that we used to play back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to play a more modern, obviously, anthem type set later on at 30. And I'm nervous about doing that because I just don't, it is a bit special moment. It's a really
Absolutely,
special moment.
yeah. The birthdays always bring extra energy. I remember when I was playing at the Passion birthday, there's always like this extra spark or magic or something, you know, people extra excited to come. I'm excited to play.
Well, we're excited to have you back. We can't wait. I mean, the stage show that we've got lined up is probably the biggest production set that we've ever done. We've got artists over 2 rooms which I think some of the artists in the second room, you've got Tall Paul, Seb Fontaine, John Kelly, Alex P, Brandon Block, legends in the house or in a second room.
Yeah.
That is like some people's main lineups in some other ones. So I think it's good.
Imagine a lot of house classics getting played in there.
Oh yeah, man, that's what they can. Those guys, and because they're so skilled, some of them are my heroes. I mean, Tall Paul. They're all friends, obviously, from over the years, but I still get starstruck with Tall Paul.
Yeah.
Always. I tell him when I see him, I still get starstruck. I don't know what it is. It's just like, he's always been one of my heroes, and I get starstruck with him. But
amazing.
But, these guys are so skilled, and they've honed their skills over, the length of time that we've been doing, and they nail it to a T. So, yeah, it should be an amazing event. It should be really good. I can't wait to show everyone the production, because the production levels are off the scale.
I've seen videos of the venue. I don't think I've been in it, maybe, but I've seen the videos. They look great. Yeah,
well, we put all the lasers in. We bring all of those in, and obviously you've got the in-house production. Rob, who's the guy that puts it all together for us, is absolutely incredible. His attention to detail is like ours. He wants to really sound to like music. He's just phenomenal. And we've got some extra special little bits that are coming in this year that I don't want to reveal just yet.
Keep them as a surprise.
Yeah.
So, Passion 30 coming up. What's next after this? Have you got any ideas? Have you got any?
Well, I think that's the thing. As a promoter, when I put that first record on 30 years ago, I didn't know whether I was going to be putting another record on next week, and it was weekly then.
Yeah.
For Passion 30, I don't know whether I'm going to be putting on another record. You're only ever as good as your last show.
Yeah.
And I think if you keep that mentality, you will look forward to doing it again. It is really draining as a promoter to go through the events, and you do get to a point after each event, and every single promoter will tell you this. You must have had that feeling. Oh, I don't want to do that again. Do you remember?
Yes.
And you get on a Monday and Tuesday, and you're like, I don't know. That's it. I'm done. But as long as the people still want it, and as long as the people still come, I can't see how I can not want to do it.
Yeah.
Will we get to the point where we're at Passion 50 and we're in 20 years' time? I never thought we'd get to Passion 30.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, credit. I mean, look at all the other similar sort of brands. Passion is like one of the very last standing ones.
Yeah.
If not the only one left.
No.
And people, it is supply and demand somewhat, but people come. People still like it. People still love it.
If people still want it, and people still think we're relevant, and they still buy tickets for it, I think the times are changing at the moment with how much disposable income people have got. Whether they'll see a show as big as we're putting on for the 30th birthday ever again will be debatable, because
But do you think? I mean, I see it with my gigs. People go out less often, but if there's something on, like a birthday event, like once, twice, 3 times a year, they can afford to do it a bit more rather than going out when I was younger, I used to go out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, probably.
Yeah.
So I think culturally, dance and electronic music around the world is changed, and down to people's disposable money.
Yeah.
But if you put something on once a year or so, people, I think, will come to this.
Well, that's it. And then you're thinking about it. Used to be on weekly, and then you got too much. It used to be on monthly. Well, that's too much. And now you get to the point where it's classics and birthday 2 months apart. Is that too much? We've got the Ecstatic Festival, which Passion's doing a stage out in the summer, which we've got a very special guest to be announced on that soon. I don't know who that is, but we'll get some clues later on. But Jimmy's put on a big party with that, so we're involved in that. So that will be on in August, and then we'll decide after the 30th birthday what we're going to do moving forward. Will we ever move from there? I don't know. Will we ever go back to the Emporium? I don't know.
Interesting.
You just got to keep all options open, haven't you? And you also got to make sure that the people that come love it, and the atmosphere stays exactly the same. I don't know. What do people like? You're going to come out in the Zimmer frames, or you might come with the blow-up Zimmer frames. Have you seen them ones? But we're not getting any younger. I know that much. But there is some people who come who are, you know, older than me even.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad, like you said, passion's always about the people.
Yeah.
Um,
So dedicated followers of passion that always make it.
I've felt that too. My whole time as working as a promoter, there's something magic about the people who come to Passion.
That tiny little place in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and all those people we managed to get to come from all over the world, and they love Passion. How lucky are we that we spent 30 years of our lives being involved in something so special.
Yeah.
We should celebrate it. Celebrate it, Passion 30.
Congratulations.
It's not just me, mate. You kept it alive. We're all keeping it alive.
Yeah. We'll see you at Passion's birthday, 30th birthday. Make sure you grab a ticket. Come along. It's going to be amazing.